It's the Spooky Show with Willie.
Greetings, you market-savvy ghouls, and welcome to The Spooky Show. I'm your host, Willie Muse, coming to you from the
Void of Unimaginable Horror.
And do I have a deal for you? You guys have been begging me for it, and I have finally answered your prayers. That's right, the Spooky Show t-shirts are finally here. Made from the finest materials around, the Spooky Show t-shirt features custom artwork that fans of the show are sure to love. Available in a wide variety of colors and styles, this limited t-shirt will sell out quickly, so get yours today. You know, I think it's because I've been anticipating all of the piles of riches I'm about to be sitting on that I've had dragons on my mind a lot recently. Although, truth told, it might also have something to do with those fires that I started and the fact that I kidnapped a virgin the other day. But whatever the reason, dragons are cool, and I have a very clear picture of one burned in my head right now, as I'm sure you do too, given how many times I just said dragon. What's weird though is that even though we're both thinking about dragons right now, there's a good chance that the dragon in your head and the dragon in my head are completely different. Truth is that just about every culture from around the world has their own version of the dragon, and though that sounds cool, it also kind of makes you wonder how it happened. These cultures weren't in communication, which means that the idea of a magical flying hell beast lizard sprung up independently all over the world. And this, of course, brings me to my question of the day, which is, why are dragons everywhere? Why aren't you going down? Oh, right, okay, the jump scare ghost wants me to tell you that she's also selling merch. Her 3 collectible t-shirts are available now, and each one features one of her popular catchphrases. There's, "That mister needs a sister," "I don't think so, Tyler," and of course, "Ah!" The shirts are only available for a limited time, so get yours now, because if you don't, the ghost will not be kind to me. All right, that's enough plugging t-shirts for one episode. Let's keep going. Do the scream.
I don't think so, Tyler.
Before we begin, I should probably explain to you what a dragon is for, I guess, those of you who come from one of the cultures that don't have them. The word itself comes from the Greek word drakon, meaning serpent, and though dragons themselves aren't merely snakes, that etymology makes a lot of sense. There's a wide variety of dragons, and the one constant among all of them is that they're generally reptilian creatures that are just kind of giant snakes with a lot of extra flourishes added on. In the West, dragons tend to be depicted as winged hell beasts who are malevolent creatures that need to be killed for the good of all humanity. In the East, particularly in China and Japan, dragons are far more benevolent creatures, often associated with water and other good things like good fortune. These depictions are far more serpentine than their Western counterparts, and they don't have wings but are still somehow able to fly. There's any number of variations on the dragon lore, so I won't even try to go into all of it. But what I will do, however, is continue on with this episode by trying to answer the question I asked a minute ago, because I'm a professional. The most obvious answer to why dragons pop up everywhere is because they literally were everywhere. There were creatures that did look a lot like dragons who roamed the earth and actually existed in the world, and those creatures were called dinosaurs. Some people are of the opinion that dragons are just dinosaurs that survived long enough for ancient peoples to mingle with, and, well, those people apparently get their knowledge of history from watching old episodes of the Flintstones. As I already explained in the Loch Ness Monster episode, go watch it! Dinosaurs lived an unfathomably long time ago, and though you might think you could also say that about ancient peoples, the truth is that in the grand scheme of things, the earliest man didn't live that much closer to dinosaurs than we do today. There's a big difference between 1 million years ago and 10,000 years ago, and that difference is, well, whatever 1 million minus 10,000 is. I can't do that equation. Furthermore, even if there hypothetically were some dinosaurs who defied all laws of life and death, then they probably wouldn't actually look like dragons. Most of us already know that most dinosaurs were feathered, not reptilian, so the fact that dragons don't look like giant deformed chickens means that this theory be dumb. That said, ancient peoples could have interacted with dinosaurs in the same way as us more modern, sophisticated folks. One thing that is all over the world is fossils. So one very valid explanation for the ubiquity of dragons is that ancient people found dinosaur bones and jumped to the conclusion that they belonged to something resembling a dragon. Because honestly, if I didn't know any better, I would probably do that too. I mean, look at this thing. Tell me you don't think that that looks like it can breathe fire. This theory is supported by the fact that in China, they actually do commonly refer to dinosaur fossils as dragon bones and use them for medicinal purposes. Furthermore, like I said, our most common mental image of the non-chicken dinosaurs are as real as dragons ever were. So we couldn't even shit on ancient people for this because we still do the same basic thing to this day. That said, though, it's possible that dragons were more than just something that people created with their imaginations. Kind of. Though nothing exactly like the mythical beasts actually exist in the real world, there are a lot of creatures that do come freakishly close. Take, for example, the Nile crocodile, which are large reptilian creatures which don't look that dissimilar from dragons and are also apparently huge dicks. What's more is that their habitat might have once been much vaster than it is today, which would mean that a lot of ancient cultures might have interacted with them once upon a time. What I'm getting at is the idea that dragons may have just been born out of over-exaggeration. Basically, people saw a Nile crocodile or something equally likely to make you want to shit your loincloth, and they relayed their encounter to their buddies. As people are wont to do in telling a story, they built up the creature they saw in their head and gave it traits that weren't actually physically there. This initial retelling would filter out into a community, getting bigger and bigger until what was once a simple river lizard had wings on its back and flames spewing out of its mouth. I actually like this theory a lot because it's a nice reminder that you don't need to look to the supernatural to find creatures that are completely bonkers. Honestly, if I didn't already know that crocodiles existed and you tried to explain to me what one was, I'd say you were a kook and then kick you square in your baby maker. Conversely, if I knew for a fact that dragons were real, they probably wouldn't seem as cool as they do as a myth. I mean, they're basically just big lizards and or snakes. I see that shit all the time when I forget to clean my apartment, and believe me when I say, it ain't special. The line between myth and reality isn't as thick as we like to think it is, so it makes sense to me that the dragon could be rooted in an actual creature. That said, there's one more theory that I like even more that suggests that this isn't the case. According to this theory, dragons aren't based on one real-world animal. They're based on 3. This final theory relies heavily on the work of psychologist Carl Jung, and I am no expert on psychology. In college, I failed student counseling, so if I have trouble explaining this, bear with me. That said, I'm still gonna try. Jung is responsible for the theory of the collective unconsciousness, which essentially posits that human brains aren't blank slates when we're born. We're all imprinted with learned behaviors from our ancestors which affect how we think and feel, and important stuff for survival is passed down in our genes so that future generations won't have to relearn stuff that earlier generations already learned the hard way. This theory connects to dragons thanks to an anthropologist by the name of David E. Jones, who suggested that the creatures are imprinted on us thanks to our ancestors' constant struggle to survive in the face of some very tough predators. The 3 most fearsome of these predators were birds of prey, large cats, and snakes, and it is from these 3 creatures that the dragon was born. When you look at the dragon as an amalgamation of the aforementioned animals, it's surprisingly easy to see what Jones was talking about. Dragons arguably do have the basic head of a large cat, the talons and occasional wings of a bird, and the everything else of a snake. What's more is that each of the features lifted from their respective animals is what they would have used to attack us back in the day. Lions would have used their heads to bite, eagles used their talons to swoop down on us, and snakes use their legless bodies to creep us out. I don't like snakes. With this in mind, it stands to reason that dragons are everywhere not because we all came together and decided to come up with the scariest creature we could think of. Rather, we were all imprinted with the same things that innately terrify us, and so we independently gave those traits to a beast of our own respective creation. And that creature was able to frighten just about every culture around the world for generations on end. I think at the end of the day, the dragon is proof that nothing can frighten us more than ourselves. Whether it was the result of misinterpreting fossils, over-exaggerating a memory, or cobbling together our own innate phobias, we are the ones who created the dragon. Looking at the mythical beast is a reminder that the scariest things in the world are the things that only exist in our own thoughts. At the end of the day, there's only one thing spookier than the human mind, and that's the Spooky Show t-shirt, available now for the low, low price of $19.99. That's it for me, guys, but before I go, I just want to let you know that the episodes this summer might be a little more spaced out in their release dates, but that's not because I'm not doing the show anymore, it's just, well, my life is a mess. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, share, and print the URL on your descendants' genes, anything you can do to help me grow. I'll see you guys in a few weeks, but until then, I don't have much to say besides I'm Willie Muse, and this was The Spooky Show. See you later, ghouls.
That sister needs a mister.